And so the question becomes, how do we take, so just using that example, how do we take our small size and use it to our advantage to build a broader environmental movement across the state? Everybody knows everybody, everyone's related to somebody, everyone pretends to like everybody all the time. And so the question is, how do we build a much broader community? I had a chance to meet with a few folks down in Sussex, down at my Lewis Field office the other day, and this is one of the things we talked about, is that we're good about rallying around single issues. We're good at coming together, you know, to be in support or to oppose something, but then after, you know, either it passes or fails or whatever, we all go to our separate corners, and we all kind of go on with our life. And not that everyone needs to become, you know, kind of fully engaged in this, you know, full time, but the question is first, how do we broaden the coalition? So it's not just folks that view themselves as environmentalists, but we also bring folks that are concerned about their kids' future, folks that are concerned about the public health and the cancer clusters in the state, folks that are concerned about the lack of recreational opportunities for some kids or issues like childhood obesity, folks that are concerned about fishing and hunting and that enjoy the outdoors for other reasons. How do we build this base of support so these don't become partisan issues in future years? And for the past 2 years, I focused very heavily on kind of climate and energy issues. A lot of energy efficiency, a lot of renewables, some climate policy. And we need to keep doing that. We need a massive push in the state around climate adaptation. We need to figure out how we're going to deal with sea level rise, saltwater intrusion, habitat changes, looking at the challenges with species and crop migration. And it's going to be a real challenge that we face over several years. And I brought in some expertise, also from California. Carolyn Snyder's here somewhere. I don't know where she is. She's in the back. Who's just joined me from Stanford to help lead some of this effort. And we also have great folks in our coastal programs and our shoreline programs. But we also need to get back to basics. Air quality, water quality, really focusing on the things that people of all stripes can really rally behind. Almost every one of our waterways in the state is impaired. That's just unacceptable. And at the same time, we've done a lot to control a lot of the sources of pollution. A lot of it is residual from generations ago. Now, obviously, things like shutting down a power plant that intakes, you know, billions of gallons of water over, you know, every few years is an important step to making sure we don't have those impediments to achieving better water quality. But we also need to start connecting some dots around what are the other sources of pollution. I've really enjoyed working with the agriculture community. There are a lot of folks that are very seriously trying to discharge less pollution and nutrients into the watersheds, but we haven't had the same level of focus in some of the other areas. Things like sprawling development that has people driving further and further, so they're emitting pollution out of their tailpipe, which is then ending up in the water as it comes down to earth. You know, things like people that are over-fertilizing golf courses in their yards. A lot of that water ends up in the inland bays or in the Chesapeake watershed. So how do we get at those issues? But we're facing massive changes. We're seeing storms that are more intense. We're seeing, you know, crops that could grow here easily before not be able to grow here as much. We're seeing salt water in more of our wells in Rehoboth, for example. And so we're starting to see little anecdotal pieces of impact that really are real. And so the question is, at what point do we decide to not question the science that at this point is pretty much without reproach, but really focus on how we're going to adapt to it, and what are the economic opportunities that we can seize as we move into these new markets around cleaner transportation, cleaner energy, greener buildings, and infrastructure.